Guys, so this is a channel about me achieving my goal. It never was about actually becoming a YouTuber or growing or being big, but hey, 1,000 subscribers. So this is pretty cool. And because of that, I'm going to start a new series where it's interviews. So I'm going to be interviewing coaches. I'm going to be interviewing current players, past players on the PGA Tour, people that are chasing their Korn Ferry status, anybody that that is trying to get better. I even have one lined up on someone that went from where I'm at right now to very, very low single digits. So just talk with them about why they're doing what they're doing, what they've done to get where they are, what it's like if you've played on tour, if you're chasing it, what it's really like to be at that level. So guys, thanks for following. It means a lot to me that you'd subscribe. So there's going to be a 3-part series on Michael Parry, who I'm currently working with from a coaching perspective. And so I'm going to break it up. The first one is going to talk about who he is, how he got into the golf, how he got into coaching. The next one will be about the Skillest app and how he uses it for coaching and how we're using it to train me, because he's literally over in Holland. And then the last one's going to be talking about the mental golf type. So excited about that. Want to start leveraging and talking about that more, because this year, well, this current year that I'm in was about ball striking, and I have got my strokes gain, I have cut it in half to from where it was at when I started this year. So I've successfully did well with that goal. So I'm going to really be focused on the mental aspects. Going to talk about my work with Paul Salter, hypnotherapist, and I'm going to interview him and talk about what he does and what we've done together. So anyway, I've already spoken too long. Let's just jump right in to that conversation with Michael.
So what is, just out of curiosity, what is your, what was your, you came to America to go to college, or?
Yeah, so I started off in South Wales, mostly playing football, or soccer as you call it, and rugby. They were my main sports until I was about 15. My father had always played golf, so I think I'd hit balls in the field. So I obviously had some aptitude for it when I was playing, but I didn't get my first mid course until I was. And then I started to get hooked. I think my second summer when I was about 16, and played all that summer, got down to about 6. And then when I was off, well, about 17, 18, I got down to 1. And that's when America, I didn't really want to go to school. So I'd taken my A-levels in Britain, and I got released from Cardiff City Football Club. So the footballing dream was kind of folding out. So started to get into the golf, hitting a lot of golf balls, hitting 500 balls before school, going to the golf course and then just playing all evening. And this is a really nice setup in Britain with the club golf, and they have teams for juniors, and they let juniors play in tournaments. And then I started playing on the Welsh Amateur circuit, which was pretty good, with players like the same age as me, and Bradley Dredge, who had a really long career on tour. He's just turned 50 now, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does well on the senior tour coming up pretty soon, because still very fit. So yeah, went over to America, Coastal Carolina University. It was a pretty small school then. I think there was around 4,000 students, and Myrtle Beach was not a big place like it is now. It was the second fastest growing city in the nation at the time. And so really good fun to be in Myrtle Beach. And so I started playing golf there on the golf team. Didn't really know what it would be like to play on an American golf team. There was one Scottish player on there, Lorne Kelly, who he eventually played Walker Cup and Eisenhower Cup, and was played with Paul Casey, and Luke Donald were both on that side with him. So he was always the best. I was never quite as good as him, but I didn't realize how good he really was.
Wow.
So yeah, it was difficult as a freshman, and you don't play so many tournaments. And I was used to playing a full tournament schedule that I would set up myself, and practicing to play in tournaments. So not playing too many tournaments in my freshman year was a bit disappointing. I did play two, which I qualified for, but I thought I would be playing more tournaments. And then in my sophomore year, I went back to Wales in the summer and broke my ankle playing football, training with one of my old teams. So I ended up registered in my sophomore year, and then I kind of lost my way a little bit with the golf, and I was hanging about with the soccer team who were all British, and was watching the soccer team play. And I think at the start of my junior year, I knocked on the soccer coach's office and said, "Look, I'm pretty sure I can get in your soccer team, no problem." And he gave me a trial for that, and he matched my scholarship for soccer, and then gave me a bit more money for soccer. So I actually ended up being a dual sport athlete in college, playing 2 years golf, and then I played 2 more years or 3 more years soccer, I think. And then I played in the US ISL Division 3 for the Myrtle Beach Sea Dogs, and kind of stopped playing golf for quite a while, competitively anyway. And then when I turned 40, I kind of couldn't recover from any injuries from playing football. I was just playing socially, and I moved to Sweden and moved pretty close to a driving range. So I started hitting balls on the range when I turned 40. And I thought, oh yeah, this is something I can do and do for quite a lot longer. But it took me a while. I wasn't as good as I used to be. I think my first handicap I got back was 5. And I thought, right, I need to get that back to scratch pretty soon. And then I started reading a lot of books and, going down all the different wormholes you can go down to try and get myself better. At the time, I was working as a school teacher. I'd done a master's in education. I have a master's in physical education from Coastal Carolina. And it took me about three years to get back to scratch from doing a lot of reading, a lot of stuff on psychology I read, because I thought that's probably where the area lies where I'm struggling the most. And then, Fit for Golf comes out with Mike Carroll, and I checked my swing speed on a monitor, and I'm like, okay, I've actually lost a lot of swing speed. I was swinging at around 95, 96 miles an hour. So I boosted that up. And then when I could get back on those par 5s and to get sand iron in my hand a hell of a lot more often, then I saw my score drop quite a bit. But I'd done so much study around it, and I was already working in education. I thought I might as well take my PGA exams now. And so I took my PGA exams and started coaching out of a couple of simulator places here in Stockholm, mostly in the winter. So I do most of my work in the winter. I'm still a school teacher, so I still get my summer holidays off. And my wife's a school teacher, so I play a little bit less in the summer, but I don't teach as much because as soon as the golf courses open back up over here, then the simulators go quite quiet. So I do most of my teaching in the winter. We have programs going, so we try and do most of our work in the winter. Work with mental golf type, work with swing technique stuff, and try and get people in a position so they can just play golf in the summer and not really have too many swing changes to work out when they're actually in season. Then I usually do the online stuff with Skillest also. So they can always contact me throughout the summer and send me a few swings. I'm usually back home in Wales in my father's house, recording videos in my back garden or on the range where I grew up in Wales, sending people videos back for things to work on through Skillest then in the summer.
Excellent. So you said that you were at a 6 and you wanted to really focus on getting back to scratch. What was it that you feel really got you down to scratch from that handicap?
I got good at putting again. So I realized it was knocking in quite a few 3 putts here and there, and some big misses where you'd have big numbers. So I just tightened my dispersion, got speed up to 107 for a new set. I was still using a set of old Mizuno blades that I'd used years ago, and so changed to a cavity back ping, so my misses were a little bit better. Got fitted for a driver that I liked. So just did everything really that you can do. Did a lot of physical training, a lot of reading of mental books, and that's how I came about mental golf type in the end. Was I heard John Weir talking on, I can't remember which podcast it was now, but I heard him talking on a podcast, and I looked it up on the internet, and I did the course myself, and I thought this really made the mental game quite simple, and it showed me a lot of things that I didn't do when I went to the States, which I used to do when I was playing in Wales. So for me, once I did the assessment with mental golf type, it comes out that I'm an extrovert, and that means you can talk all the time. You can just play around. In between shots, you're just talking to your playing partners. You're not thinking too much about what's going on. And when I get out to the States to play, the coach is saying, you got to focus, stop playing around like a hamburger, he used to say to me. And, that was kind of the way I'd always done it. I just messed around. I'd grown up in football changing rooms, just with banter all the time. And
yeah,
we would do the same playing golf in Wales. And then I got out to the States, and it was all very, very serious, had to be very quiet. Everything was very structured in the practice, which also doesn't suit my mental golf type. I get bored if things are structured. I jump around from one thing to the other. So everything that came up in mental golf type kind of made sense. And that's what got me over the line from about 2 to scratch. I was hanging around on 2 for quite a while, and I couldn't quite break that. Now I'm kind of stuck on strats, trying to get into the plus numbers, which is another jump.
Yes, that's.
I find now with coaching a lot more as well. A lot of the time that I did have with practice, now I'm often just giving the lessons for a few hours. So I'm in the environment. The idea behind it was I would get to play more golf, but it turns out I play a little bit less now than I did.
Right. I mean, I'm sure that going from scratch to even a +2 is quite a feat.
I think that is quite a jump. Yeah. I've been down off +2 before, but I was playing full time.
Right.
Playing full time, and I didn't have any kids or a job.
Yeah, that's definitely the disadvantage I have. That I have so much other stuff going on. I would love to just focus 8 hours a day on golf, but just it's not a financial option for me. So it's what it is.
Exactly. And that's the same for most people who play the game. So I think we got to look for where we can make the improvements. Where's that low hanging fruit to just be able to pick up shots here and there. I mean, some big differences for me was learning how to control the ball from inside 100 yards again. So first picked up on the clock system. And then I read Dan Greavy's 3 Releases book. And he has a really good system in there for controlling wedges where you actually change setup. And I found that really interesting. It's a really good way of controlling the distance. I can even do that now on the TrackMan, whereas before I found it really difficult playing in simulators to control distance, because from mental golf type, I know I'm a feeling player. I'm an F. So I kind of feel shots in there all the time. I don't really need to look at the numbers so much. But obviously when you're playing TrackMan, you don't have that depth perception. So this system that Dan Greavy's got in his 3 Releases book, where you just change setup of your feet, really helps with like the clock system of controlling that left arm. But it's quite hard to stop your left arm when it's going back in certain positions. By changing the width of your stance, keeping the weight forward, it actually puts a natural inhibitor in there. That was really good. I also had some short game lessons to strike the ball properly around the greens. I was having some mishits here and there, and I wasn't super confident around the greens. And then I got some lessons there for chipping, which really tightened up the release of the ball off the club face. That's coming off a bit more consistent each time, and having a shot that you can rely on. Because before I was trying loads of different shots. Now I kind of just play 1 or 2 shots and change club if I want to change the elevation of it. Stuff like that, and I did the decade system as well, which isn't great for my mental golf type, but I think it's a really good tool for picking sensible targets. It's a pretty simple one that you think you do, but just having a system in play where you actually shooting mostly at the middle of the green or away from trouble, or know when you can actually go at flags and when not to go at flags. I found that was pretty helpful as well in just playing more sensibly. I started playing much more sensibly, and now I make birdies from hitting bad shots, like aiming at the sensible part of the green and pulling it 30 foot left, and it goes close, and everyone's like, "That's a really good shot." And I was thinking, I was aiming miles away. I was aiming miles away from that pin.
Yeah.
And decade was good for that, I found.
Okay.
But yeah, so still trying as well. I find a lot of PGA pros who teach, they kind of just leave the playing side and stop doing it. But I find that a lot of the stuff that I read, a lot of the stuff that I see, the best testing ground is with myself. So I still like to try and be as good as I can, really, at playing.
Awesome. That's very interesting, especially with a decade. I've kind of started thinking more from like off the tee, because that used to be my struggle. And I always thought, for whatever reason, that if I could get my tee shots under control, I would be close to scratch. And now all of a sudden I'm a plus 1.8 compared to scratch on off the tee.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is I think it is, my swing speed training. But it's more about picking the sensible target, looking at where's the widest part of the fairway. Listen to the golf course architect trying to tell me you want to shoot to this area. Don't hit your driver here. Hit a 3-wood or hit a hybrid.
Yeah.
But I go into a round and I've had it on video. I'm like, I'm going to shoot to the middle of the green on every, and I still can't. It's like so hard.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It is.
It's a difficult one. And some greens aren't very big either.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just bought a new rangefinder that is a Garmin. So inside of it, you can see the pin, but it also shows front and back. And so I'm really going to be focused on the front and back and hitting something in the center, but of the center of the green, because if you don't play enough, it's kind of hard to tell where the center of the green actually is. So I'm hoping that will kind of remind me to aim for the center and play more sensible. And my short game.
I mean, it's never a bad idea to always take a bit more club. I just heard Tom Watson giving some advice once. He just said, just try and hit it over the back of the green all the time. And even if you do hit it over the back of the green, it feels better to hit it over the back of the green than it does to come up short. Because when you come up short, something went wrong. When you actually hit it over the back of the green, you feel like you hit a good shot. So like mentally, it's better to go long. But we have so many mishits that always having a bit more club, I think, is always a good idea, depending on the hole. But mostly golf courses are designed to have the trouble in front of that green. So there's usually not that much over the back on most normal courses. I mean, some of these PGA ones are a bit crazy with super fast greens, and the greens usually faced back to front facing you. So it might end up with a lot of downhill chips. But I think taking more club for the amateur golfer is always a good idea. Just to give yourself the chance of having a miss hit. I'm not going to flush everything.
Yeah. But
that's an interesting one that you say with. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when looking at my tracking stats video, I mean, the worst issue I have is my approach game. And I spend hours hitting 7-iron, 8-iron, trying to get to where I'm consistent with the green. A lot of it's long, a lot of it's short, and on the course it's different, right? So I've got a hitting mat it's called the Holy Grail, and so it gives a little bit. So it's just a perfect hit every time, because when you get on the golf course, especially right now, the ground's so hard that there is no forgiveness. And a lot of my, like, I think, trying to remember my tracking stats, had me at, like, it was a 5.8 compared to scratch, was my approach game, and short was, I think, about 40-50% short, and then kind of like 7 and 7 right and left, and then like 10% back, or I don't remember the numbers for sure, but definitely need to figure out how to be more accurate. But the swing lesson that you saw, the movement, just I think was the move where I'm like coming up, my butt's coming off the line. Is that what causes me to pull it? Or which swing error was it that was causing me to, that would cause me to pull it left?
Yeah, and it's the same on the PGA Tour. They miss more green short as well. So it's across the board. But I think that's an important thing, that the difference between like a scratch player and a 6-7 handicap is striking the ball. Like I usually always, they don't have too many mishits. My dispersion left and right is still probably similar, but I
Right.
usually, and which then means I just get it down around the green, so I'm chipping rather than, or something like that. So I
Right.
think that's a key thing, hitting that ground in the same place over and over again, really important. And when I looked at your swing, like what I identified with you shifting that weight off, like you said, straight away when you kept the angle in that right leg, then we start to hit the ground a bit more in the same place each time.
Right.
So yeah, that's a really key point, striking that ball and being good at that, I think, to get down around those greens, because we're always going to have dispersion left and right. We'll close and open that club face a little bit, but getting that strike get you down around the green, you'll miss greens. But if you're chipping from around the greens, you're going to chip it on, and maybe you'll make some of those putts, maybe you won't. But the problem lies when you miss the green quite wayward and you miss the green again. That's when the double
Right.
bogey comes into play. Yeah. Or you throw it in this place where you're going to 3-putt. So striking that ball is super key, I think, for playing good level of golf anyway.
Right. All right. Great input on where he got to where he's at and what he's doing. Look down below in the comments and check him out on the Skillest app. His rate is crazy cheap, and obviously he knows what he's doing. He's been working with me. He's been fixing a lot of things. So go check him out. And using someone like Michael will help keep it findable. So guys, keep it findable and enjoy the game. We'll talk to you later.